Jefferson County Court at Law number 2 is back in session. Next case is cause number 331-286. The case is styled State of Texas versus Jonathan David Walker. Mr. Walker, is that your full name?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Walker, would you please raise your right hand? Mr. Walker, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Walker, you may put your hand down. How are you doing, Mr. Walker?
Good, how about you?
I'm doing fine. Thanks for asking. Mr. Walker, you're here represented by your attorney, Attorney James Padgett. Attorney Padgett, do you waive a record in Mr. Walker's case?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Walker, I have before me a document that is titled Information. This information was filed by the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office. This information alleges that on or about October 30th of 2021, while you were in Jefferson County, Texas, that you committed the Class B misdemeanor offense of driving while intoxicated while you were operating a motor vehicle in a public place. Mr. Walker, do you understand what you've been charged with?
Yes, sir.
And to discharge Mr. Walker, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
Guilty.
Now, are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
Is anybody forcing you to
Oh.
plead guilty?
No. Okay.
Okay, now, and are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yeah.
Okay, now, Mr. Walker, I have before me another document. This document is titled Misdemeanor Plea Admonishments. Mr. Walker, do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
On page 2 of this same document, Mr. Walker, there's a set of initials, JW, that are on a line next to a box. Let's check guilty. Did you place your initials on this document?
Yes, sir.
On page 3 of this same document, Mr. Walker, there's a signature above the line that is titled Defendant. Mr. Walker, did you sign this document?
Yes, sir.
And on the next document, on the same document, the next page, Mr. Walker, this document is titled Discovery, this document is titled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Right of Appeal. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And is this your signature above the line that's titled Defendant?
Yes, sir.
There are 2 boxes that's checked at the top of this document. The first box that's checked states that this is a plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
And the second box states that you're waiving your right to an appeal, which means you're giving up your right to an appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Do you have discovery certification?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Walker, I also have before me a document that is titled Discovery Certification. Do you recognize this document?
Yes,
And is this your signature on the line that's titled Defendant?
yes, sir.
Mr. Walker, before you signed and initialed all of these documents that I've just mentioned to you, did your attorney go over these documents with you?
Yes, sir.
And did you read and understand everything in these documents?
Yes, sir.
And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Walker, are you a citizen of the United States?
Yes, sir.
State, I have before me State's Exhibit number 1. State, you like to offer States 1?
Yes, Your Honor, state offer station.
Any
No
objection?
objections to statesman, Your Honor.
No objection. State's Exhibit number 1 will be admitted. Mr. Padgett, you have advised and counseled Mr. Walker. Is there any evidence that he is currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
None, Your Honor.
And Mr. Walker, your attorney, Mr. Padgett has advised and counseled you. Are you satisfied with his representation?
Yes, sir.
Has he provided full, effective, and competent legal representation?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Walker, I will accept your plea of guilty. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. I will also find that your plea and waivers are freely and voluntarily given. I also find that there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. State, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
We do, Your Honor.
And what is that agreement?
Your Honor, in exchange for defendant's plea of guilty in this case, the state is recommending that the court defer finding the guilt, and that's that the court place the defendant on community supervision for a period of 1 year, Your Honor. Require that the defendant pay a fine of $750 and require that the defendant complete 50 hours of community service, Your Honor. In addition to the standard conditions of probation, we're asking for DWI conditions to include drug assessment and an interlock device, Your Honor.
That is our understanding, Your Honor.
Okay, now, Mr. Walker,
Yes, sir.
let's see, now this offense occurred after
After September.
September 1st of 2019. And the breath test results of this case was below a 0.15. And Mr. Walker,
Yes, sir.
do you have a regular driver's license or commercial driver's license?
Well, they suspended it, back in December.
It's a regular
It
class
was
D,
a-
Your
it was
Honor.
a-
However,
It was a class,
suspended.
okay, but it was a class C?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So it wasn't a commercial driver's
No,
license?
Your Honor.
Okay, so Mr. Walker, the state is offering that you serve 1 year deferred adjudicated probation. During the 1 year probationary period, you'll be required to pay a fine of $750. You'll also be required to pay a probation fee of $60 each month, a urinalysis fee of $15 each month. You'll be required to pay DWI, the Jefferson County DWI education class and initial evaluation fee of $125. Should a further evaluation be needed, you'll be required to pay an additional $50. Your total monthly installments, that is, the total amount that you will be required to pay while you are on probation, is $185 each month. Mr. Walker, will you be able to pay the $185 each month?
Yes, sir.
You'll also be required to perform 50 hours of community service. You'll be required to attend and complete a DWI class. You will be required to have a drug and alcohol assessment, and you'll be required to install an interlock device on any vehicle that you own or operate. And you will also be required to adhere to the other standard terms and conditions of this probation. Mr. Walker, do you understand the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
And do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just?
Yes, sir.
And do you accept the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Walker, I'll follow the plea bargaining agreement that you have entered into with the state. Mr. Walker, you're gonna stand on the X next to your attorney. You're gonna follow the directions of our clerk. Once you finish following the clerk's directions, you will be free to go, and you have a blessed day.
So you understand, I know you're not driving right now, but you not your dogs. And you're driving, just be equipped with this device. And I stay off while you're in the conditions of this probation. So
Okay.
they're gonna tell you.
And then, Mr. Paget, I think this is your last
It
case?
is your.
Okay, you'll be free to go after you sign it. You have a
Yes,
blessed
sir.
day.